Hello, if you're suffering from Parkinson's disease or some type of movement disorder, tremor disorder, stiffness, rigidity disorder, or it's a loved one who's suffering from a Parkinson's disease condition, you really deserve to listen to this video.
For the first time in I don't know how many years, I actually feel hopeful.
You feel hope. And the only reason why you feel the hope is because
I'm getting better.
you're getting better. His sense of humor had disappeared, as we just said, and now what do you notice?
Oh, it's back. He's got the whole family laughing again.
Yeah, so, and you were able to
Climb a ladder, lay down some road roofing, do some prep work, sweep, be up there where before I would freeze. I was able to actually function, be a contributing help to the job.
Yeah, and freezing was only freezing as you tried to get up a ladder. Did you freeze before you even put foot on the ladder, or when you got a foot on the ladder, did you freeze on the ladder?
When I got a foot on the ladder. When I started climbing up the ladder, I'd stop and then
You'd freeze on the ladder, like halfway up the ladder, you're freezing, you had to come back down.
Yeah.
And
I
this,
was going to say he would freeze trying to turn around in the kitchen to put something in the silverware drawer. So, I mean...
I was doing
not just the ladder, but he was freezing.
Yeah, so the thought of even getting on a ladder was like, then...
It was like impossible.
That's history.
Yeah.
But it's not, because this last week he climbed a ladder.
Climbed the ladder.
And he was able to, not just that, but you're up there on the roof and you're tired, 3 hours of work, and now you have to turn around and go backwards down the ladder with weak knees. And we're like, oh boy. He did it, no problem.
He did it, no problem. Now, another of the problems, and you might share something, if Mrs. Meacher, if you could share, was, as we just mentioned before, of walking along the beach, along the shoreline, when the water would come up below about ankle high, he would freeze in the water until the water left his feet and left his ankles. So one of the things that would happen when he would, you told me that when you were holding hands walking along the shoreline, and when the water would come up by his ankles, what did he always do to your hand?
He would hold it tight and tighter till I had to loosen it. But it wasn't necessarily always just when we were at the beach or something. This would be like, it didn't matter where we were, at a grocery store, walking anywhere, I would sort of be that second cane. And he would just get tighter and tighter and tighter, and it would hurt. So I'd have to say, Jerry, you need to loosen. So he'd manually loosen, and then it would happen again. But about 4 months into the treatment, I noticed that he was actually holding my hand like you would normally hold a hand.
Loose, casual, not
casual.
gripping for
like,
life.
Because we love each other, not because I'm a king.
Like I'm gonna, right. With you and your wife just told me about you being able to handle the cell phone when you drove from Jacksonville down to this South Florida area for this visit with me today. What happened?
I wouldn't have been able to do a couple months ago.
And what were you able to do with the cell phone, with the Apple? It's an Apple iPhone that you use?
Yeah, scrolling, answering phones, sending text messages.
You're able to do all of that, and before there was just, and what would happen?
I wouldn't even try.
You wouldn't even try, or if you did try, what would he do?
He'd get frustrated and he'd just throw it down. I'm like, I can't do this.
And this time?
He was like, he's just quietly sitting there doing it. And I'm like,
wow.
He's doing it. And the first time he did it, I didn't say anything, and the second time he did it, I'm like, dear, do you realize just twice you just handled that? You went, and you were between apps, and you were moving things between apps, and you had no trouble getting the whole sequence.
That's a big deal.
Huge deal.
Huge. What's different with you with your memory?
I'm finding that I can remember more people's names, faces, and dates and things like that.
And with conversation, are you now able to complete sentences or carry on conversations now?
Even in stressful conversations.
So in stressful periods, there was just...
I wouldn't finish a sentence and I'd stumble over words and just give up.
And so there's big improvement with memory, and there's great improvement with you being able to carry on a conversation and finish sentences. I'm Dr. Herman, and I'm with a great couple. This is Mr. and Mrs. Smeanji. That's okay to say.
Yeah.
Okay. And you come to my clinic. I'm in South Florida right now, and you come from Jacksonville, right? And so you were diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Yes. About how many years ago?
2012.
2012.
After years of symptoms.
How many years were the symptoms before you were diagnosed?
Probably started
7 years before.
at least.
7 years. So we're going back to about 2005 maybe. So we're looking, this is 2009. Today is October 14th, 2009. So you're going back to
19.
about 2005, around there,
Yeah.
perhaps. So as we can see right now, let me just start out by saying he's still shaking. And so there's still more improvement, but we're going to give you a list. They're generous enough with their time to help you realize that he is getting better after his 2 visits with me. And I had to send him to a dentist. I'll talk about that in another video, but he's already improving in several different parts of his life. So we're going to get into those different improvements right now, just to help you understand that there is improvement that can be achieved even when medicines, when you choose to not take the Parkinson's medicines, or you have tried them and they're just not keeping you feeling well or functioning well for a long period of time. Most people have, I shouldn't say most, but there's too many people who have on and off times with their Parkinson's meds, where they've had to go from 1 dose a day of, let's say, a dopamine type of support pill, L-Dopa, to where they're taking 2, 3, 4 different times in the day because 1 was not good enough and 2 was not good enough, and they just keep upping the dose. So, so in any event, Mr. Smeanji, you have, so you've been diagnosed since, you just said a few minutes ago, it was about
2012.
2012, so 7 years ago you were diagnosed. And in the past, since 2012 through 2019, before you met me, were your symptoms getting worse?
Yes, gradually but steadily getting worse. And my choice was not to take any L-Dopa when I read the side effects of the medicine. I mean, there's page after page of side effects. And I figured I'd rather have the Parkinson's than the side effects.
Got it. And so one of your symptoms, obviously, is the shaking of the pretty much the entire body. Yeah.
Yeah, shaking, frequent urination, not being able to really finish sentences, not being able to handle much stress, crowds would throw me off.
Struggle swallowing.
Yeah.
Swallowing was a problem.
Swallowing, drooling, and also waking up frequently at night, having night fights with imaginary or dream, whatever was.
Well,
in
he
the
was
dream.
sleeping,
Yeah, he was asleep.
but
and
he was like boxing in the air.
Yeah.
It would wake you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be hitting her.
You'd be hitting
Well,
her,
not-
or hitting
not
the wall,
always.
or, well,
Yeah,
not that he tried to hit you.
No. He
But it would
wasn't-
just happen as a
Yeah.
side effect of, yeah, but not
Exactly.
always.
Yeah.
And so you also mentioned that you pretty much had to give up work, right? Because you were doing roofing
Yes,
work.
I went, I was in construction. I was also working overseas as a relief worker. And basically the crowds, the different languages, just I couldn't handle it anymore. So I went on disability, which is no fun.
And with the roofing work that you've been involved in roofing work for how many years of your life?
Well, I was a general contractor in Michigan, and I built houses, built condos, remodeled, did a lot of kitchen remodels, and
Hands-on.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
tile
you were doing
work, everything.
He sailed down the Mississippi. You know, he's done a lot of hands-on stuff.
So you had to give up that work
Yeah,
because you just couldn't control. You couldn't control a few things you were telling me. It was like balance you couldn't control, and
balance,
coordination, fatigue, coordinating your hands to do things or your legs to do things.
repetitive motions like hammering a nail. I couldn't do anymore.
And you also mentioned that even just, and you live near the beach, near the coastline, and you're in Florida, and you were telling me that it became a bit difficult to walk along the sand, along the shoreline, because
Seeing the water underneath my feet moving, that movement would throw my balance off. I
and
didn't know what to focus on.
and would you fall down or would you just freeze?
I just freeze.
You just freeze there. And then how did you get unfrozen? Was it just waiting for the
Wait
water
until
to,
the water back
when
out.
the water went back down
Yeah.
to the ocean, then
Yeah.
you would unfreeze again?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever have freezing with walking through a doorway?
Yes, and in crowds, and when people would walk in front of me, I'd have to stop.
You just got stuck.
Actually
you get
frozen.
stuck.
You actually
Yeah.
froze.
Yeah.
Not that you had to stop, it just would happen to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just couldn't move.
And in the past few years, were you able to actually get up and, let's say when you're walking, which was slow walking, and we're going to look at a video of him walking when I first met him, and walking and turning around to come back towards me when he's walking, and you're going to see another video where he's walking today in my clinic, and actually walking a little bit faster and turning a little bit easier. So you'll compare the two. I'll have them side by side here, but Were you able to actually, about dexterity with your hands, were you able to use a cell phone like an Apple iPhone or Android kind of phone and utilize it to press buttons on it and do
I had
things?
great trouble with my phone and my iPad because I'd hit things twice or inadvertently hit a button that I didn't mean to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very frustrating. Scrolling was very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're talking about these different symptoms because we're going to list all of his improvements that they were generous to share with you, and happy that he's actually experiencing improvements, which we'll get to in just a moment. You also, memory was a problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that your wife was happy to see was, because you like to kind of joke. You have a good sense of humor, or had a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
You wanted to still have a good sense of humor, but for some reason, with this Parkinson's condition,
I was quite grayish mood, depressed most of the time.
so the jokes were not coming up the way that they used to, let's say, 20 years ago.
No.
Yeah. So now the reason why we're doing this is because you have some improvements that you've noticed during and after the second round with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about pinpointing and safely removing the hidden disease-causing infections and toxins from areas of the central nervous system so that the brain can function better, so that the brain can control the body parts better, so the brain can control the speech better, and swallowing better, and bladder control, and so on. And until you can actually find the causes of the condition, and it's not just a decrease in dopamine production, so you can actually find the hidden infections and chemicals that get into the brain that cause the brain to become impaired in its ability to control the limbs and the daily functions in your life. And until you can do that, I personally believe that there's really not much hope out there. So what is different for you, and that we're doing this video that you were so gracious to share with people? What's different with you with your memory?
I'm finding that I can remember more people's names, faces, and dates and things like that.
And with conversation, are you now able to complete sentences or carry on conversations now?
Even in stressful conversations.
So in stressful periods, there was just...
I wouldn't finish a sentence and I'd stumble over words and just give up.
Mm-hmm. And so there's big improvement with memory, and there's great improvement with you being able to carry on a conversation and finish sentences. With you and your wife just told me about you being able to handle the cell phone when you drove from Jacksonville down to this South Florida area for this visit with me today. What happened?
I wouldn't have been able to do a couple months ago.
And what were you able to do with the cell phone, with the Apple? It's an Apple iPhone that you have?
Yeah, scrolling, answering phones, sending text messages.
You're able to do all of that, and before there was just... And what would happen?
I wouldn't even try.
You wouldn't even try? Or if he did try, what would he do?
He'd get frustrated and he'd just throw it down. I'm like, I can't do this.
And this time...
It was like, he's just quietly sitting there doing it. And I'm like,
wow.
He's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time he did it, I didn't say anything. And the second time he did it, I'm like, dear, do you realize just twice you just handled that? You went, and you were between apps, and you were moving things between apps, and you had no trouble getting the whole sequence.
That's a big deal.
Huge deal.
Huge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another of the problems, and you might share something, if Mrs. Meacher, if you could share, was, as we just mentioned before, of walking along the beach, along the shoreline, when the water would come up below about ankle high, he would freeze in the water until the water left his feet and left his ankles. So one of the things that would happen when you told me that when you were holding hands walking along the shoreline, and when the water would come up by his ankles, what did he always do to your hand?
He would hold it tight and tighter till I had to loosen it. But it wasn't necessarily always just when we were at the beach or something. This would be like, it didn't matter where we were, at a grocery store, walking anywhere, I would sort of be that second cane. And he would just get tighter and tighter and tighter, and it would hurt. So I'd have to say, Jerry, you need to loosen. So he'd manually loosen, and then it would happen again. But about 4 months into the treatment, I noticed that he was actually holding my hand like you would normally hold a hand.
Yeah.
Loose, casual, not
Casual.
gripping for
like,
life.
Because we love each other, not because I'm a king. You
Like
know what
I'm
I mean?
gonna, right,
Yeah.
like he's gonna fall or something,
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
yeah, no more stress with the walking.
Yeah.
You also, his sense of humor had disappeared, as we just said, and now what do you notice?
Oh, it's back. He's got the whole family laughing again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. So the wit is back.
The wit is back, and wit is, you know, it's timing, and he had lost timing completely, and he would even not realize he was interrupting something that was going on. He would just say something, and his timing was off in many ways, but it's just all his perception is back.
Yeah, sometimes I wasn't present.
Yeah.
I was off in my own world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I couldn't relate to people and what they were saying, and so I just...
Yeah.
And now
I'm more present.
more present,
Yeah.
more relatable.
More hopeful. I
More
think
hopeful.
depression was a big issue, which is a normal outcome of being where he was.
Yeah, stuck in the
Yeah.
body. Not,
For the
not
first
being-
time in I don't know how many years, I actually feel hopeful.
You feel hope.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why you feel the hope is because
I'm getting better.
you're getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling you're getting better because you can actually do things you couldn't do before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And think things and say things you couldn't do before,
Mhm.
right? And another point that you told me, which was one of the first things that came out of your mouth in this visit today, was your ability to, because you've done roofing for many years with family members,
Mhm.
and uncle and cousin, I think you said?
Yeah, my
Right.
uncle and my cousin.
Yeah, so, and you were able to,
Climb a ladder, lay down some road roofing, do some prep work, sweep, be up there where before I would freeze, I was able to actually function, be a contributing help to the job.
yeah, and freezing was only
I just-
freezing as you tried to get up a ladder? Did you freeze before you even put foot on the ladder, or when you got a foot on the ladder, did you
When I
freeze
got
on
a
the
foot
ladder?
on the ladder, when I started climbing up the ladder, I'd stop and then
You'd freeze you'd freeze on the ladder, like halfway up the
Yeah.
ladder, you're freezing, you had to come back down.
Yeah,
And this time,
climbed up.
I was going to say he would freeze trying to turn around in the kitchen to put something in the silverware drawer.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
I was doing
not just the ladder, but he was freezing.
yeah,
It
so the thought of even getting on a ladder was like, Dan,
was like impossible.
that's history.
Yeah,
But it's not, because this last week he climbed a ladder.
climbed the ladder.
And he was able to, not just that, but you're up there on the roof and you're tired, 3 hours of work, and now you have to turn around and go backwards down the ladder
Mhm.
with weak knees. And we're like, oh boy. He did it, no
He
problem.
did it, no problem. No freezing.
No freezing, no
And-
panic, no,
Yeah.
oh boy, we better get 3 people here to catch him. No,
He got on the ladder by himself,
And got
from the
off.
roof to the ladder by himself, and
Mhm.
climbed back down.
back down with that.
Yeah.
Oh.
What about the freezing in the kitchen, turning around?
I was dangerous in the kitchen. I literally, several times I'd fallen just trying to turn around, and if I was carrying anything, I'd drop it. And emptying the dishwasher, carrying sharp knives, I was danger.
And now?
I'm doing pretty good.
Mhm. Yeah.
I actually even remembered to empty the dishwasher.
And you can empty it yourself and open the
Yeah.
drawers and
Oh,
put
yeah,
in
yeah.
the cupboard and put things away
No
yourself.
problem.
And there's no freezing as you're turning in one direction or another.
No.
And we'll see in the video that you're not freezing anymore as you're turning around now with the
Mhm.
walking in front of my clinic. So that's phenomenal. What about in front of, out in the public when you're around crowds now? When you're around several people or so, is there any freezing that's all happening around those several people?
I still use a cane when I'm going to approach a crowd, but if it's not going to be a large crowd, I leave the cane at home.
Mhm.
But if it's crowded,
You mean a large crowd, like going into a concert kind of large crowd?
Yeah,
Or you
like
mean,
several hundred people.
that's when you need a cane.
That's when I need
But
a
if you
cane.
go into like food shopping with your wife, I mean,
No,
if you don't
I'm
need a cane
fine.
for that. And you're not freezing with that.
No,
And there's no freezing through doorways now.
no,
There's none of that.
no.
Yeah. And there was another problem that you mentioned where there was with saliva, with drooling or so on.
I
And
still
hard to-
have a little bit of that.
You still have some of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
There's
have
a
to
little
keep
bit of that,
continually
but
swallowing.
it's not like,
It's less.
it's less. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
markedly less, but, I mean, it'll get completely better. But it was like he would get halfway through a sentence and he'd be too garbled. We'd have to ask him to say again what he was saying.
So that sounds great now.
Mhm.
Now, there was another thing you said, that there are certain periods now that you notice that you don't have any shaking in the body. Even though we're seeing you shaking
When-
right now, but there
yeah,
are times that you're
I'm
relaxing.
on television.
Yeah. A little nervous
Um,
with that, but there are times when you relax
there
at
are
home
times
that you
I'm
don't shake
relaxing.
anymore.
Yeah, when I can actually relax and stop the shakes, tremors, and sit back and
Mm-hmm.
Did you have the ability to stop a shake or a tremor in the past before you came to me?
it was harder.
It was harder. And
It's
even
harder.
though it was harder, were you able to accomplish it before you came to me?
Yes, but it wouldn't last very long.
So now, would you say that it's longer by several minutes or just several seconds?
minutes.
Minutes.
Yeah.
I would add that my impression of it is that I'm outside of his body, so correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past he would make an effort to control it. Like, I am intentionally
Yeah.
controlling this. I'm going to stop shaking now.
And now we're,
But like last night, we're at our friend's house, he leans back in the lazy boy and he relaxes and I'm like, Dan, you're not shaking.
Mhm.
And it's not like he intentionally decided to not shake. That's the difference that I see.
That's the big difference.
That it's like I have reached a place where I can relax, which if you ask him to describe what Parkinson feels like and why he's so tired, it's because you're moving all the time
Sure.
and your
Mhm.
body is tired.
yeah.
But his body was able to actually move to rest mode.
Oh, amazing.
Even though we just had 5 hours of driving, past 3 accidents, driving rain, stress. He's the passenger in a stressful
Yeah.
situation, which usually drives him crazy. But he was able to sit
Yep,
down
relax.
and relax.
So, and you've gone through some other treatments before coming here.
Thousands and thousands of dollars worth.
$1,000. And this
Yeah.
is finally making a difference in your life.
Yes.
Is there anything that you can tell anybody who's listening out there who's struggling with their Parkinson's, or the family member struggling with Parkinson's, who still doesn't know if there's, even though they're looking and they want help and they want hope, is there anything that you could tell them besides what you've already shared?
You've got to get to the root of the problem. You
Mhm.
can't just mask the symptoms. People have recommended marijuana to calm you down, Valium.
Mm-hmm.
There's, I don't know, 100 different reasons why you have tremors.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get rid of everyone.
Yeah.
You can't just go to the magic cure.
Mhm.
You've got to find the source. You've got to get to the root and get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my doctor here is doing.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's working.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. And you're seeing it and you're smiling because you're feeling it. You wouldn't get on this camera if it was
No.
No.
if it was not working.
No.
There'd be no
No.
reason to do this, because this is all about helping another person.
Yes.
Yeah, and telling the truth about it.
Mhm.
And so as we move along, we're going to do another video with him down the road. Hopefully you can be willing to do that, because
Mhm.
as we see the body shaking stop, that's going to be for long periods of time. Then we're going to get you back on camera,
Mhm.
unless there's some other magnificent, monumental, something else that we haven't seen yet or welcome
Yeah.
yet that we can actually get on camera. But when we see the body shaking stop, and we know that's coming, and we're
Yes.
actually starting to see signs of it
Yes.
slowing down and getting breaks in
Yeah.
the day that you didn't have before. So
There is hope.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
thank you.
Yeah.
We'll put the number up on the screen, or an email address to my clinic, and you can start working with me, with you, to start helping yourself get well. And it is possible. And just watch the other videos on my YouTube channel. I'm going to put up another video of me describing some of his unique exam findings to help you see something and hear something different than what you're hearing from the doctors that you've been to before. So when you can incorporate another method of treatment with your medications, if you're on those meds and you want to take them, that's fine. But find the causes and get rid of the causes so you can
Mhm.
get better.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.